You know who you are. You know what your pedigree is. You got to watch yourself. But in the same breath, y'all, when it comes to speeding, I mean, damn, there's a whole bunch of us, regardless of age. That ain't got nothing to do with maturity. A whole bunch of us make those mistakes.
You know what's wild? When a former NFL quarterback comes out of nowhere to absolutely demolish a sports reporter who thought she could bully a college kid, and the internet goes insane. Baker Mayfield just resurfaced from the shadows with a tweet that's now blowing up everywhere, calling out Kay Cabot for doing exactly what we all suspected, creating clickbait drama without facts. But here's the crazy part. This isn't even about Baker anymore. This is about how one speeding ticket turned into the biggest media backfire of the year, and now Kay Cabot is getting a taste of her own medicine. Buckle up, because this story gets messy fast. So let me break this down for you, because what started as a simple speeding ticket has turned into the most entertaining sports drama of the week. Shedeur Sanders gets pulled over for speeding. Okay, not great, but honestly, who among us hasn't been there? But Kay Cabot? She saw this as her golden opportunity to absolutely destroy this kid. And here's where it gets juicy. Cabot didn't just report the story. Oh no, she went full attack mode. She's out here emphasizing that it happened at 12:45 a.m., trying to paint this picture like Shedeur's some kind of reckless party animal.
What's Sanders Nation?
Well, I don't know what you call your fan base, but
I don't be calling it what? Sanders Nation. They fan, like, it's a group of individual people that have their own, their own thoughts. So I can't control nothing.
She's talking about how he was going a staggering 40 miles over the limit and claiming he was racing another driver. She literally said, "This is not what you want from your quarterback, like this dude committed a felony or something." But wait, it gets better. While Cabot's out here trying to destroy Shedeur's character over a traffic ticket, guess who's been watching the internet? And they don't forget anything. Hold up, before we get into how this all blew up in her face, you need to hear what Shedeur actually said when he responded to all this drama.
Number one, get your butt in the house at a good time, right? Because it's lessons. Number two, mama used to tell me a lot of stuff, but grandma taught me a lot too.
Okay, what grandma say?
And grandma always used to tell me once I started making plays and all that in college, she said, "Grandson, it's a lot of people want to see you lose. Don't give them any opportunity to see you lose."
So Shedeur's sitting at lunch, probably just trying to eat his food in peace, and someone asked him about all this controversy. And you know what he said? "They try to talk trash about me, but we are Sanders Nation and we are not affected by it. But we cannot stop them as well." Bro, the composure on this kid. While Kay Cabot is out here writing hit pieces, Shedeur's just sitting there like, "Yeah, we see you, but we're not pressed about it." That's some serious maturity right there. But here's where the story takes a crazy turn. Remember Baker Mayfield? Yeah, the former Browns quarterback who's been relatively quiet lately? Well, turns out he's been watching this whole situation unfold, and he had some thoughts.
You know who you are. You know what your pedigree is. You got to watch yourself. But in the same breath, y'all, when it comes to speeding, I mean, damn, there's a whole bunch of us, regardless of age. That ain't got nothing to do with maturity. A whole bunch of us make those mistakes.
But Baker drops this tweet, and I'm telling you, this tweet is now going viral, where he straight up calls Kay Cabot clickbait without any facts and figures. Boom. Just like that, Baker Mayfield enters the chat and absolutely destroys her credibility with one simple sentence. Now, here's what makes this so beautiful. This isn't the first time Baker and Kay have had issues. Apparently, she's been doing this same clickbait, drama-stirring routine for years. But back when Baker was dealing with her, social media wasn't as ruthless as it is now. Times have changed, and the internet has Baker's back this time. And let me tell you something about timing. Baker's tweet resurfacing right now is perfect, because it proves this isn't just about Shedeur. This is about a pattern. Kay Cabot has been doing this to young athletes for years, and finally, someone with a platform called her out on it. But yo, you're not going to believe what happened next. The internet started digging into Kay Cabot's background, and what they found is absolutely insane. So while Cabot's out here trying to destroy Shedeur's reputation over a speeding ticket, guess what the internet detectives found? Records showing that some of her own family members have been involved in criminal acts. And they didn't just make claims, they brought receipts. Screenshots, public documents, old news clippings, everything. The irony is thick, my friends. This woman is out here questioning Shedeur's character and maturity over a traffic violation. But when people start looking into her own family's background, suddenly it's a different story. And the best part? The support for Shedeur started pouring in from everywhere. Even Stephen A. Smith stepped up to defend him, saying, "It's not that big of a deal. Young people often make these kinds of errors." Stephen A. literally said, "When it comes to speed, we've all made that mistake, whether we're young or old." But Leishy McCoy? Bro, McCoy didn't hold back at all. He called out the entire tactic for what it is. When critics can't find fault with Shedeur's performance on the field, they shift the focus to his life off the field. McCoy said, "This is how they'll shape the narrative. They'll say things like he can't lead a team with this kind of attitude because they know they can't say anything about the way he plays." And he's absolutely right. Think about it, Shedeur's been playing so well in OTAs that as a fifth rounder, they're talking about splitting reps with the first-team offense. But instead of talking about his incredible performance, Mary Kay Cabot wants to focus on a speeding ticket. James Jones brought an even deeper perspective to this whole situation. He shared what his grandmother used to tell him: "When you rise in the spotlight for doing good, there will always be people waiting to see you fall." That hit different, because it's exactly what's happening here. But here's where this story gets absolutely wild. Because what Mary Kay Cabot thought would be a simple hit piece on a young quarterback just turned into the biggest backfire in sports media. What started as Mary Kay Cabot's harsh criticism of Shedeur Sanders has completely spiraled into a full-blown backlash against her. In just a matter of days, the entire narrative flipped. What she thought would be a pointed critique turned into a tidal wave of scrutiny aimed squarely at her. Fans, former players, and even fellow journalists are speaking out, not just in defense of Shedeur, but against the consistent negativity Cabot has directed his way. The public has turned investigative, digging up past incidents involving Cabot and her family members, complete with receipts. And Baker Mayfield's old tweet? It's not just resurfacing, it's gaining massive traction. People are finally seeing the pattern that Baker called out years ago. The outrage isn't just about one article anymore. It's about Mary Kay Cabot using her platform not to report, but to attack young athletes. Here's what's really crazy. Shedeur handled this entire situation with more class than most veterans would. When he addressed the speeding ticket, he said, "I made some wrong choices personally, and I got to own up to them. I made some not great choices. I learned from it." No excuses, no deflection, just straight accountability. Meanwhile, Mary Kay Cabot is probably sitting somewhere wondering how a simple speeding ticket story turned into her getting absolutely roasted by the entire internet. The same ruthless attention she tried to direct at Shedeur is now focused on her, and it's not looking good. The beautiful irony here is that Shedeur's response throughout this entire controversy has shown exactly the kind of leadership and maturity that Mary Kay Cabot claimed he lacked. While she's been throwing stones, he's been taking responsibility and staying focused on what matters. Baker Mayfield's tweet calling her out for being clickbait without facts is now being shared thousands of times, with people saying things like, "Baker tried to warn us years ago, and this is exactly what he was talking about." And here's the question that's got everyone talking. Was this controversy ever really about a speeding ticket, or was it always about something much deeper? What we're witnessing here is bigger than just one reporter versus one player. This is about accountability in sports media. For too long, reporters like Mary Kay Cabot have been able to write hit pieces on young athletes without any consequences. They hide behind journalism while actually just stirring up drama for clicks. But the internet age has changed the game. When you come for someone's character over a minor mistake, you better make sure your own house is in order. Because the same people who can build you up can tear you down just as fast. The fact that Baker Mayfield's old tweet is now going viral shows that people have been watching this pattern for years. They've been waiting for someone to call it out. And Baker did exactly that. His timing might have been early, but he was absolutely right. Shedeur Sanders has handled this entire situation like a true professional. He took accountability for his mistake, stayed composed under attack, and never lost his focus on what really matters: his performance on the field. That's leadership, and that's exactly why Sanders Nation has his back. Mary Kay Cabot thought she could bully a young quarterback and get away with it. Instead, She got a masterclass in how the internet handles bullies in 2024. Baker Mayfield's tweet was just the beginning. The real destruction came from thousands of fans who decided they'd had enough of biased, clickbait journalism. So what? Do you think? Did Mary Kay Cabot get what she deserved? Or did the internet go too far? Was Baker Mayfield right to call her out years ago? Or should reporters be allowed to critique without being scrutinized themselves? And most importantly, do you think this controversy was ever really about speeding? Or was it always about something much deeper? Let me know in the comments what you think about this whole situation. And if you want to stay updated on all the latest sports drama and stories like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, if stories like this teach us anything, it's that you never know when the next big controversy is going to drop, and you don't want to miss it.
Dude was an Jerry Rice Award winner, which is for the best freshman in the FCS, not just the SWAC. He led Jackson State to 2 SWAC championships, had a 12-1 season before going to Colorado, took a 2-win team, made it a 4-win team, made it a 9-win team, and people still want to talk noise. Then he gets into this draft prep where not just Mel Kiper, who's the loudest, but others from Dane Bugler to Todd McShay to Field Yates, draft analysts had him mocked as one of the 50 best players in the country, and many had him mocked inside the top 25. And because of the nature of the quarterback position, we all believe that he's going to be a first-round draft pick, perhaps the second guy off the board.
Picture this: a quarterback who led his team to a 12-1 championship season, won the Jerry Rice Award as the best freshman in FCS, took a 2-win Colorado team and turned them into a 9-win powerhouse. And NFL scouts said he wasn't prepared for the draft. While Tyler Shaw with 3 major surgeries got picked in the 2nd round, while Dylan Gabriel went 3rd round, Shedeur Sanders, the most accomplished college quarterback in the draft, slid all the way to the 5th round at pick 144. Now his father Deion Sanders is absolutely going off on everyone who questioned his son's preparation. And what he's revealing about the draft process will shock you. Look, I'm about to break down something that's been eating at me since draft day, and after hearing what Coach Prime just said, I can't stay quiet anymore. We're talking about one of the biggest draft mysteries in recent memory, and it's got everything to do with bias, preparation, and flat-out disrespect. You want to know what really happened here? Let me paint you the full picture, because what went down with Shedeur Sanders isn't just about one player. It's about how the NFL draft machine operates, and brother, it's uglier than you think. First, let's get our facts straight about who we're actually talking about here. Shedeur Sanders isn't some flash-in-the-pan college quarterback who rode his daddy's coattails to success. This dude has been balling since day one. We're talking about a Jerry Rice Award winner. And for those who don't know, that's the award for the best freshman in all of FCS football. Not just his conference, not just his division, the entire FCS level. But here's where it gets interesting. Before he ever stepped foot in Colorado, Shedeur led Jackson State to not 1, but 2 SWAC championships. Had that legendary 12-1 season that nobody wants to talk about now. Then he transfers to Colorado, a team that won exactly 2 games the year before he arrived. 2 games, people. They were the laughingstock of the pack. 12. What happens next? Year 1 with Shedeur, for wins. Okay, progress. Year 2, 9 wins. From 2 wins to 9 wins in 2 seasons. You tell me another quarterback in this draft class who transformed a program like that. I'll wait. And yet, somehow, someway, the narrative became that this kid wasn't prepared for the NFL draft. That he went into meetings with headphones on. That he had a blasé attitude about the whole process. Really? This is the same guy who worked with 6 different offensive coordinators and got better each time they brought someone new in?
That went into the meeting unprepared. Like, dude, Shedeur Sanders, who has had 6 different offensive coordinators who still function and leveled up every time we brought somebody new in, and you're going to tell me that he was unprepared? You're going to tell me that he had on headphones? Anybody who knows my son understands he's a professional. He's going to go into a meeting with headphones on. Y'all, come on now. And he's right. He's right.
Here's where Deion Sanders comes in swinging. And man, when Prime speaks, you better listen. He went on Sante Samuel's podcast and absolutely shredded these reports. And I'm going to give you his exact words because they hit different. The Bible says God uses foolish things to confound the wise. There was some foolish stuff that went on, but that gave them something that they needed, like that edge Tom Brady had. It gave them the edge that you had. It gave them the edge that I have. Folks said we weren't going to be nothing, but we had to prove all of that. Hold up, did Coach Prime just compare his son's draft slide to Tom Brady's 6th round selection? Because if you know your football history, you know Tom Brady went 199th overall. 6 quarterbacks went before him that year. 6. And look how that turned out. But Prime wasn't done. He kept going. When you sit up there and you say something like that, and went into the meeting unprepared, like dude, Shedeur Sanders, who has had 6 different offensive coordinators, who still functioned and leveled up every time we brought somebody new in. And you're going to tell me that he was unprepared? You're going to tell me that he had on headphones? Anybody who knows my son understands he's a professional. This is where it gets real, folks. Prime is essentially calling out the entire NFL scouting community. He's saying they got it wrong, and he's got the receipts to prove it. Think about what he's really saying here. Shedeur worked with 6 different offensive coordinators and got better each time. You know how hard that is. Most quarterbacks struggle when they have to learn one new system. This kid mastered 6 different ones and elevated his game every single time. But let's talk about what really happened on draft day, because this is where the story gets absolutely wild. Mock drafts had Shedeur Sanders as one of the top 50 players in the entire draft. Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, Field Yates, all the big names had him projected in the first 2 rounds. Many had him as the 2nd quarterback off the board after Cam Ward. What actually happened? The New York Giants traded up to select Jackson Dart. Tyler Shaw, who's had 3 major surgeries, went in the 2nd round. Dylan Gabriel went 3rd round to Cleveland. Jalen Milroe went 3rd round to Seattle. Outside of Quinn Ewers, pretty much every quarterback with a pulse got selected before Shedeur Sanders. And here's the kicker. Cleveland, the team that took Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, ended up taking Shedeur in the 5th round. The same team, they took a quarterback in the 3rd, then took another one in the 5th. What does that tell you about how they really valued these players? Let me ask you something. If you're an NFL scout and you see a quarterback who took a 2-win team to 9 wins, who won a Jerry Rice Award, who led his team to championships, who worked with 6 different coordinators and succeeded with all of them, what exactly are you looking for that he doesn't have? Because I've sat down with Shedeur. I've interviewed him multiple times. The consistency in his confidence and preparation is what allows him to go out there and perform. This isn't some cocky kid who thinks he's better than everyone. This is a professional who's been preparing for this moment his entire life. And you know what the real kicker is? RJ Young, who covers college football for Fox Sports and has been around this game for over half his life, said it perfectly. I've had sit-downs with Shedeur. I've had sit-downs with Travis. I've had sit-downs with Prime. Their consistency in their confidence and their preparation is what allows them to go and act. This is coming from someone who's been in the game, who knows what preparation looks like at the highest level. Yet somehow, NFL scouts missed all of this. But here's what I think really happened, and this is where it gets controversial. I think some people in that draft room couldn't separate Shedeur Sanders the player from Shedeur Sanders the son of Deion Sanders. I think there was bias. I think there was jealousy. I think there were people who wanted to humble the Sanders family. Because let's be honest about something. Deion Sanders doesn't operate like everyone else. He can't. The man is one of the 5 greatest athletes to ever walk this earth. He's the only person to play in both a World Series and a Super Bowl. He won 2 Super Bowls with 2 different teams. He changed the balance of power in the NFL as a cornerback. He succeeded in baseball, football as a player, football as a coach. And broadcasting.as Prime himself said, "Can't nobody do it like you." If you try to put together a program the way Deion Sanders put together Colorado, you're going to fail. If you try to play the game the way that Deion Sanders played the game, you're going to fail. And that can get under people's skin. It feels like he doesn't have to use all the tools that everyone else has to use just to get where they want to be. He's on another level, and sometimes that makes people want to knock you down a peg. But here's what's really wild about this whole situation. Even with all the controversy, even with Shedeur sliding to the 5th round, this story still dominated headlines. RJ Young pointed out that on a Monday morning, in the middle of the NBA Finals, with the WNBA booming, with Caitlin Clark breaking records, the Shedeur Sanders draft story was the top headline on ESPN.com. Think about that for a second. In the middle of peak basketball season, a college football story about a draft pick controversy was getting more clicks than anything else. That's the power of the Sanders brand. But it's also proof that people know something wasn't right about how this whole thing went down. And you want to know something else? Shedeur has been called grown by his father since he was very small. This isn't a kid who needs motivation from outside sources. He's had people doubting him his entire life, mostly because he's really good at football and because he's Deion Sanders' son. The chip on his shoulder isn't new. It's been there since day one, and now he's got even more fuel for the fire. He's got that Tom Brady edge that Pran talked about. You think Tom Brady forgot about going 199th overall? You think he didn't use that as motivation for the next 2 decades? Shedeur Sanders just got handed the same type of disrespect. And if you know anything about the Sanders family, you know they don't take disrespect lightly. Here's what's going to happen next, and you can bookmark this prediction. Shedeur Sanders is going to make the Cleveland Browns' 53-man roster. He's going to get his opportunities. And when he does, we're going to find out real quick who was right and who was wrong about this whole situation. But here's the thing about being wrong in the NFL draft. The people who get it wrong rarely come back and admit it. As RJ Young said, perfectly, the folks that are wrong, they don't pop up and say, damn, I got that one wrong. You know, the folks that are right love to tell you so. So when Shedeur starts balling out in Cleveland, don't expect apologies from the scouts who passed on him. Don't expect the analysts who questioned his preparation to admit they were wrong. They'll find new excuses, new reasons why he's succeeding that have nothing to do with their original evaluation being completely off base. But the Sanders family will remember. Trust me on that. They'll remember every team that passed on him. They'll remember every analyst who questioned his work ethic. They'll remember every scout who said he wasn't prepared. And that's exactly the edge they needed. That's the fuel that's going to drive Shedeur Sanders to prove everyone wrong, just like his father did throughout his entire career. The NFL draft process exposed itself with this Shedeur Sanders situation. It showed that sometimes talent evaluation takes a backseat to personal bias. It showed that accomplishments on the field don't always translate to respect in the draft room. And it showed that sometimes the best thing that can happen to a competitor is getting overlooked. Because now Shedeur Sanders has something to prove. And if you know anything about the Sanders family, you know they do their best work when people doubt them. What do you think? Did NFL scouts get it completely wrong with Shedeur Sanders? Or was there something we didn't see behind the scenes? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more controversial takes on the biggest stories in football, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next.
Now you better feel it.
You know, he was labeled as an arrogant, kind of cocky guy.
Yeah.
And then you hear him talk and watch how he's navigated this early process of being in Cleveland with the Browns. And he comes across completely different. Like, listen to how his teammates talk about him. Listen to how he answered the questions. It just comes across, he's incredibly humble, well-spoken. And,
Yes.
And like, I don't mean this as a negative, but kind of quiet. You watch how he handles himself. You watch how his teammates have spoken about him. It's the complete 180 from what you expected to get. He looks the part of what you would hope for in a franchise quarterback. I've been damn impressed with how he's handled himself off the field in front of a microphone.
Yeah.
You hear that? That's the sound of NFL scouts scrambling to figure out how the Cleveland Browns just pulled off the heist of the century. While everyone was sleeping on Shedeur Sanders, labeling him as just another cocky quarterback with daddy issues, something absolutely insane was happening behind closed doors in Cleveland. The whispers started during OTAs, then turned into shouts, and now, even veteran players are saying this 5th-round pick doesn't belong in the 5th round. He belongs leading their franchise. What they discovered about Shedeur's hidden talent has scouts questioning everything they thought they knew about evaluating quarterbacks. But here's where it gets absolutely wild. And this is something that's going to blow your mind. Remember all that noise about Shedeur being arrogant? About him being this cocky kid who thinks he's better than everyone else? Well, guess what happened when he actually stepped foot in that Cleveland facility? The complete opposite, and I'm talking about a 180-degree turn that has analysts, coaches, and even his own teammates doing double takes. One analyst put it perfectly when he said Shedeur comes across as incredibly humble, well-spoken, and honestly kind of quiet. Think about that. For a second, the same kid who was supposedly this arrogant prima donna is now being described as quiet by people who are watching him every single day. But wait, it gets even crazier. These aren't just casual observations from reporters trying to fill column space. These are coming from people inside that building. People who have seen countless rookies come and go. People who know what it takes to make it in this league. And they're all saying the same thing. This kid is different. Now, let me ask you something. When was the last time you heard about a fifth-round quarterback completely changing the narrative?
And was as good a young third-day pick you could imagine in how he handled himself.
They have every reason in the world to want this to work. He was at worst a second-round talent. There's every reason in the world where they could come out of this looking like the same geniuses that San Francisco looks like for taking Brock Purdy where they did. There's nothing but upside for Cleveland in there. There are some quarterbacks who they have these talents that just jump off the page, right? If he's got a cannon for an arm or if he can run like Lamar Jackson or whatever. Shedeur Sanders' superpowers are the opposite of that, right? They're all the things that actually make quarterbacks good. They're processing
about himself before he even took a meaningful snap. When was the last time veteran players were going out of their way to praise a rookie who hasn't even made the starting lineup yet? Here's what's really happening, and this is where it gets interesting. Shedeur Sanders isn't just changing minds. With his personality, he's backing it up with his arm. And the numbers? They're absolutely insane that we're talking about a quarterback who completed 74% of his passes in college, despite getting sacked 42 times in just his final season alone. Let that sink in. Over 90 sacks in 2 years at Colorado, and this man still maintained the best completion percentage in the FBS. That's not luck. That's not system quarterback numbers. That's pure, unfiltered talent. But here's where it gets absolutely bonkers. You know what his completion percentage is in camp right now? 77%. Not only is he duplicating his college success, he's actually improving on it. Meanwhile, the other quarterbacks on the Browns roster? They're sitting at 58%. Now, some people might say, well, it's just camp. But hold up, if it's just camp, then why aren't the other guys hitting those same numbers? Why is Shedeur the only one who's figured out how to be consistently accurate against the same defenses, with the same receivers, in the same conditions? The answer is simple, and it's the same reason why scouts are now second-guessing everything they thought they knew about this draft class. Shedeur Sanders has superpowers, but they're not the kind you'd expect. He doesn't have a cannon for an arm like some quarterbacks. He's not running 4.440s like Lamar Jackson. His superpowers are what actually make quarterbacks great in this league: processing, reading defenses, and making quick decisions under pressure. And here's the kicker. One analyst flat out said, "We can all agree he's not a fifth-round talent. His talent is somewhere in the first or second round." Think about what that means. NFL scouts, people who get paid millions of dollars to evaluate talent, are now publicly admitting they screwed up. They're saying that 31 teams passed on a first or second round talent and let him fall to the fifth round. But Cleveland, they saw something everyone else missed. And now they're looking like the same geniuses that San Francisco looked like when they took Brock Purdy where they did. There's nothing but upside for Cleveland here, and the scary part is they know it. Now, here's where the story gets even more interesting, because while everyone's debating whether Shedeur should start week 1, there's something much bigger happening behind the scenes. The Browns aren't giving him first-team reps yet, and some people are losing their minds about it. They're saying the organization is trying to sabotage him, that they're not giving him a fair shot. But let me flip that script for you, because this is where most people are getting it completely wrong. If Cleveland wanted to sabotage Shedeur Sanders, they would absolutely rush him onto the field right now. They'd throw him to the Wolves in those first 6 weeks when they're facing 5 top 10 offenses, plus Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. They'd let him get destroyed, let him go 1-5, and then everyone would blame the rookie for the team's failures. But that's not what they're doing. Instead, they're protecting their investment. They're letting veteran quarterbacks like Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco take those brutal early season hits while Shedeur continues to develop and learn the system. And you know what? That's exactly what championship organizations do. They don't rush their franchise quarterback into impossible situations. They develop them properly. But here's the thing that's driving everyone crazy. Shedeur is making it really hard for them to keep him on the bench. Every single day in practice, he's showing flashes that have coaches and players talking. One insider said, "Players and coaches are saying this young kid ain't no fifth-round draft pick. He's looking really, really good." Think about that for a second. We've got veterans who have been in this league for years, guys who have seen countless rookies come and go, and they're the ones saying this kid is special. These aren't media narratives or draft analyst opinions. These are the people who actually have to line up across from him every day. And the timing couldn't be more perfect. Cleveland needs energy. They need someone they can build around. They need that spark that can get the dog pound rocking again. Because let's be honest, it's been a long time since that fan base had real hope. Look at what happened in Washington when Jaden Daniels came in. The entire city, the entire organization got energized. They went from being an afterthought to being one of the hottest teams in the league. Cleveland is sitting on the exact same opportunity with Shedeur, and the crazy part is they got him in the 5th round instead of having to trade up for the 2nd overall pick. But here's where it gets really spicy. And this is where Shedeur is about to separate himself from every other quarterback in that room. The competition hasn't even really started yet. All this talk about quarterback battles and depth charts, that's just noise. The real competition doesn't begin until they put the pads on, until they're running real plays against real defenses with real consequences. And when that happens, here's what I think is going to blow everyone's mind. Shedeur isn't just going to compete, he's going to dominate. Because while everyone else is still trying to figure out the system, still trying to build chemistry with receivers, still trying to prove they belong, Shedeur has already done the work. He's already showing he can put the ball in tight windows. He's already demonstrating the accuracy that made him the best completion percentage quarterback in college football. He's already earning respect from veterans who have no reason to hype up a 5th-round rookie. Now, let me paint you a picture of what's really about to happen in Cleveland, because this is where the story gets absolutely insane. The Browns are going to start the season with Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco. They're going to struggle through those first few games against elite defenses. The fan base is going to get frustrated. The media is going to start asking questions. And then, somewhere around week 6 or 7, they're going to have no choice but to turn to Shedeur. And when they do, that's when the magic happens. Because here's the thing about Shedeur that nobody wants to admit. He performs better under pressure. He completed 74% of his passes while getting destroyed by pass rushers every week. He led comeback after comeback at Colorado with the entire college football world doubting him. This kid thrives when the lights are brightest. When Cleveland finally gives him his shot, when they finally let him loose with the first-team offense, it's not going to be pretty for the rest of the league. Because they're not just getting a quarterback, they're getting a proven winner who has something to prove. And the best part? He's going to have a chip on his shoulder the size of Lake Erie. 31 teams passed on him. Analysts called him a bust before he even played a snap. His own team made him earn every single rep instead of handing him anything. That's the kind of motivation that turns good quarterbacks into great ones, and great quarterbacks into legends. But here's what's really going to drive people crazy. When Shedeur finally gets his chance and starts lighting up scoreboards, when he's making throws that have highlight reels going viral every week, when he's leading the Browns to wins that nobody saw coming, all those same scouts and analysts who let him slip to the 5th round are going to act like they saw it coming all along. They're going to pretend like his success was inevitable, like anyone could have predicted that a quarterback with a 74% completion percentage and elite processing skills would succeed in the NFL. They're going to rewrite history and act like the Browns didn't just pull off one of the greatest draft steals in modern NFL history. But we'll remember the truth. We'll remember how they slept on him. We'll remember how they questioned his character, his work ethic, his ability to lead. We'll remember how they let the perfect quarterback for Kevin Stefanski's system fall right into Cleveland's lap. Because at the end of the day, that's exactly what this is, a perfect match. Stefanski's offense is built around accuracy, quick decisions, and smart reads. That's literally Shedeur's entire skill set. It's like they designed the system specifically for him. And now Cleveland has him locked up, ready to develop, ready to lead their franchise for the next decade. While other teams are still searching for their franchise quarterback, still trading up in drafts, still hoping their expensive free agent signing works out, the Browns found theirs in the 5th round. The craziest part? This is just the beginning. We haven't even seen what Shedeur can do with NFL-caliber weapons, with a real offensive line, with a coaching staff that believes in him. We've only seen glimpses in practice, flashes in OTAs, hints of what's coming. But if those glimpses are enough to have veterans talking, enough to have coaches impressed, enough to have analysts admitting they were wrong, imagine what's going to happen when he gets unleashed for real. Here's my question for you. And I want you to really think about this before you answer. When Shedeur Sanders is leading the Browns to the playoffs next season, when he's breaking rookie records and making Pro Bowls, when he's everything Cleveland hoped for and more, are you going to be able to say you saw it coming? Because right now, right here, we're witnessing the beginning of something special. We're watching a 5th-round pick transform into a franchise quarterback before our eyes. We're seeing the Browns pull off the steal of the century while everyone else is still trying to figure out how they missed it. The truth is, they didn't miss it. They just weren't paying attention. But Cleveland was. And now they're about to reap the benefits for years to come. What do you think? Is Shedeur Sanders about to prove every scout wrong? Or are we getting ahead of ourselves? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more NFL content that breaks down the stories everyone else is missing. Because trust me, this Shedeur Sanders story is just getting started, and you're not going to want to miss what happens next.
No, Jared Goff got off to a bad start.
Did he? Oh yeah, he was with the Rams. They weren't good that year. I remember
He
that.
stunk
That was the year Sherm
So
had
this
knocked
quarterback
him out the
did
game.
get off to a very good statistical start.
Yeah.
He had maybe the greatest debut in the history of the NFL,
What?
where he threw 5 touchdowns, no picks, and had a legitimately perfect quarterback rating.
Robert Griffin III.
He played he played a different quarterback, not Robert Griffin III. And this quarterback is, Steve, Marcus Mariota.
Wow. Oh my God! Well, he was a top pick. I mean,
He was
started
the second pick.
He was okay his first couple
Yeah,
years.
and then
He went to Tennessee, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and he beat Jameis Winston in his first game, and he
That's
had
right.
5 touchdowns
Yeah.
and a 158.3
That's
quarterback
pretty much
rating.
all downhill from there.
Yeah.
Next up,
Gates early.
Yeah.
in our blind resume game.
Shedeur Sanders fans, you're not going to believe what I just discovered that's going to silence every single hater out there. I've been digging through this incredible breakdown where they analyzed the first 6 starts of legendary quarterbacks. And let me tell you, the results are absolutely mind-blowing. From what I've seen in this analysis, it proves that 6 games is not enough to judge a quarterback, and that means Shedeur could be the next superstar that everyone's sleeping on. The evidence is so strong that even the biggest doubters are going to have to admit they were wrong about our guy. Look, I know what you're thinking. Here we go again with another Shedeur Sanders take. But hold up, because what I'm about to show you is going to completely change how you look at quarterback evaluations, and more importantly, why Cleveland giving Shedeur just 6 starts might be the biggest mistake they could make. So check this out. These analysts took a deep dive into quarterback evaluations, specifically asking whether you can make a true evaluation of a quarterback in less than 6 starts. And guys, the results are absolutely wild. They looked at legendary quarterbacks in their first 6 starts, and I'm telling you, some of these numbers are going to shock you. Let me paint you a picture here. They started with a blind resume. A quarterback who went 2-4 in his first 6 starts, completed 58.3% of his passes, threw for just under 1,500 yards, 8 touchdowns to 6 picks with a 78 quarterback rating. Now, from what I've seen, most people would look at those numbers and say, I want to see more. But here's the kicker. That was Baker Mayfield's first 6 starts. And you know what? Even with Baker's numbers, the experts were split. Some said they'd stick with him. Others said they'd take a quarterback in the first round. But here's what really gets me. One of the analysts straight up said Baker is just below the line of quarterbacks who can win championships. I mean, come on. That's exactly the kind of short-sighted thinking that could hurt Shedeur's chances. But wait, it gets even crazier. They showed another quarterback who went 2-4, completed 62.3% of his passes, threw for 1,449 yards, 10 touchdowns to 7 picks, with an 84.4 rating. Better numbers than Baker, right? Well, that was Daniel Jones. And look how that turned out. One analyst even said, I made the right decision, when they found out it was Daniel Jones after saying they'd take a quarterback in the first round instead. Now here's where it gets really interesting, and this is why I'm so confident about Shedeur. They showed this absolutely horrible stat line. 1-5 record, 55.8% completion percentage, 1,364 yards, 6 touchdowns to 14 interceptions. Everyone was ready to give up on this guy. But you know who that was? Peyton Manning. The Peyton Manning, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, had a terrible first 6 starts. And if teams back then judged quarterbacks the way they do now, we might never have seen his greatness.
I think the best thing to do, Mike, in my opinion, sorry to change your game, is say, stick want to see more, or move on.
Okay, perfect.
Well, every
All right.
last
Like
one
that.
of them is want to see more.
Well, but whatever. I mean,
See, so then you can't juxtapose it against taking a first quarterback with the first round pick.
yeah.
Because sure, I look at those numbers and say I want to see more.
Right.
But if there's a quarterback at the top of the next draft that, oh man,
That's really good. You broke your glass?
I did. Gosh dang.
Take out the want to see more. It's either
Okay.
yes or no. Stick
All
or-
right.
stick or
No, I'm not sticking with this guy. No.
I'd stick with him.
And that's just the beginning, guys. They kept going with these examples, and every single one proves the same point. 6 games is not enough to evaluate a quarterback. Drew Brees had similar struggles early on. Josh Allen, and we all know how. That story ended, had some rough early numbers too. Even Eli Manning, who went on to win 2 Super Bowls, had absolutely horrendous first 6 starts that would make any team want to move on. But here's the thing that really gets me fired up. They showed Dak Prescott's first 6 starts, and those numbers were actually good. 4-2 record, 63.2% completion percentage, 10 touchdowns to just 4 picks, 91.4 quarterback rating. And you know what? He wasn't even a first-round pick. This just shows you that talent can come from anywhere, and early success doesn't always translate to long-term greatness. Just like early struggles don't mean a quarterback is destined to fail. From what I've seen in this analysis, it's clear that the NFL is making a huge mistake by trying to evaluate quarterbacks so quickly. And that's exactly what worries me about Shedeur's situation in Cleveland. These analysts are basically saying that neither Shedeur nor Dylan Gabriel will probably get enough playing time to prove they're the answer, and that's just not fair to either of these guys. I mean, think about it. One of the analysts straight up said that this year is just a waste because the Browns are in a transition period. But how is it a waste if you're not even giving these young quarterbacks a real chance to show what they can do? That's the backwards thinking that keeps teams stuck in mediocrity. And here's what really frustrates me. They're already talking about the Browns probably picking in the top 5 next year and having to choose between sticking with their current quarterbacks or drafting someone new. But how can you make that decision if you haven't even given Shedeur a fair shot? It's like they're setting him up to fail before he even gets started. Let me tell you something. From what I've seen of Shedeur Sanders at Colorado, this kid has all the tools to be special. He's got the arm talent, the accuracy, the pocket presence, and most importantly, he's got that clutch gene. Remember how he performed in those high-pressure situations in college? That's not something you can teach, guys. That's something you're born with. But here's the real kicker. Even if Shedeur gets limited starts, I think he's going to make the most of every single opportunity. And that's where the haters are going to be proven wrong. Because while everyone's saying 6 games isn't enough to evaluate a quarterback, I think 6 games is going to be more than enough for Shedeur to show he's different. Think about it this way. When you look at all these legendary quarterbacks who struggled early, they were dealing with completely different situations. Peyton Manning was thrown into the fire as a rookie with a team that wasn't built to support him. Josh Allen was on a Bills team that was still figuring things out. But Shedeur? He's walking into a Cleveland situation where he's got weapons around him and a team that's desperate for quarterback play. I could be wrong about this, but I think the pressure is actually going to work in Shedeur's favor. When you know you only have a limited window to prove yourself, you're going to come out firing. And that's exactly the kind of mentality that Shedeur Sanders brings to the table. What really gets me about this whole analysis is how it proves that the NFL's evaluation process is fundamentally flawed. They're trying to make franchise-altering decisions based on tiny sample sizes, and that's not fair to these young quarterbacks. But you know what? That's exactly why I think Shedeur is going to shock people. From what I've seen, everyone's already writing off this Cleveland season as a transition year, where they're just biding time until they can get their franchise quarterback. But what if their franchise quarterback is already on the roster? What if Shedeur Sanders is sitting right there, waiting for his opportunity to prove all the doubters wrong? And let me tell you guys something. The fact that these analysts are already talking about the Browns potentially drafting another quarterback next year just shows how little faith they have in the evaluation process. One minute they're saying 6 games isn't enough to judge a quarterback, and the next minute they're talking about moving on from guys who haven't even gotten their chance yet. It's contradictory, and it's exactly the kind of thinking that leads to teams missing out on great players. Here's what I think is going to happen, and let me know in the comments if you agree with me on this. I think Shedeur is going to get his opportunities, maybe not 6 full starts, but enough meaningful playing time to show what he's about. And when he does, he's going to make such a strong impression that all this talk about drafting another quarterback is going to disappear. Because here's the thing, Shedeur Sanders didn't just put up numbers in college. He put up numbers against top-level competition while dealing with constant pressure and criticism. He's been in the spotlight his entire career, and he's thrived in it. That's not something you can teach, and it's not something that shows up in those early NFL stat lines we were looking at. From what I've seen of his college tape, Shedeur has that special quality where he just finds ways to make plays when it matters most. And that's exactly what Cleveland needs right now. A quarterback who can step up in crucial moments and give them a chance to win games. But here's what really bothers me about this whole situation. They're already lowering expectations for these young quarterbacks before they even get their chance. They're saying things like, they probably won't be able to play enough to be considered the answer. Well, how about we let them play first? Before we make that determination, I think the Browns are in a unique position here. They've got two young quarterbacks with completely different skill sets and backgrounds. Shedeur brings that pro-style experience and clutch factor, while Dillon Gabriel brings his own set of tools. But instead of being excited about the possibilities, everyone's already talking about what they're going to do in next year's draft. And that's where I think the haters are going to be proven wrong. Because while everyone's looking ahead to next year's draft, Shedeur is going to be focused on making the most of every single snap he gets this year. And when he does, people are going to realize they've been sleeping on a special talent. What do you guys think about this whole evaluation process? Do you think 6 games is enough to judge a quarterback, or do you think these young guys deserve more time to develop? Let me know in the comments, because I'm genuinely curious about your thoughts on this. From what I've seen in this analysis, it's clear that the NFL needs to completely rethink how they evaluate quarterbacks. You can't make long-term decisions based on small sample sizes, especially when you're dealing with young players who are still adjusting to the professional level. But you know what? Maybe this flawed evaluation process is exactly what's going to work in Shedeur's favor. While everyone's focused on the limitations of early evaluations, he's going to be out there proving that some players are just different. Some players don't need a full season to show they belong. They just need an opportunity. And that's exactly what I think is going to happen with Shedeur Sanders. He's going to get his chances, and when he does, he's going to make the most of them. The haters can keep talking about sample sizes and evaluation periods, but at the end of the day, football is about making plays when it matters most. Look, I know this might sound like I'm just being a homer for Shedeur, but the evidence is right there in front of us. This analysis proves that great quarterbacks can have rough starts, and limited playing time doesn't tell the whole story. What matters is having the right mentality, the right tools, and the right opportunity. Shedeur Sanders has all 3 of those things, and I think he's going to shock a lot of people this season. The haters can keep doubting, but I'm betting on the kid who's been proving people wrong his entire career. What do you guys think? Are you ready to see Shedeur silence the doubters? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date on all the latest Shedeur Sanders coverage. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next.
In the case of Shedeur, I've written this many times that he was not as up to speed on some of the kinds of terminology or concepts or long, complicated play calls and different things as Dillon was. He didn't come in with a real enormous football encyclopedia of those things. But the Browns have discovered, and people want to lose the second part of this.
Yo, Shedeur fans, we just got some wild news that's going to blow your mind. Kay Cabot just dropped some absolute bombs about why Shedeur Sanders was apparently behind Dillon Gabriel in certain quarterback skills during OTAs and minicamp. But here's the thing. Before you start panicking or getting upset, you need to hear the full story, because what she revealed about Shedeur's incredible learning curve and his advantages over Dillon is actually going to make you more excited than ever. Trust me, this interview just changed everything we thought we knew about the Browns' quarterback competition. As someone who's been following Shedeur closely since his Colorado days, this news hit me like a truck at first. But then I listened to the entire interview. And guys, we need to talk about what's really happening in Cleveland, because Kay Cabot just gave us the most detailed breakdown of the quarterback situation we've gotten all season. Let me break this down for you guys. And I'm going to be real with you. There's some stuff that might worry you at first, But there's also some absolutely incredible news about Shedeur that's going to get you hyped. From what I've seen, and from what Mary Kay is telling us, this quarterback competition is way more complex than anyone thought. First off, let's address the elephant in the room. Mary Kay straight up said that Shedeur was not as up to speed on some of the kinds of terminology or concepts or long complicated play calls compared to Dillon Gabriel. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably like, what? How is that possible? And look, I get it. When I first heard this, I was like, hold up, we're talking about Shedeur Sanders here, the guy who's been playing quarterback his whole life, coached by his father Deion Sanders. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is where you guys need to pay attention because this is the part that everyone's gonna miss. Mary Kay said something that completely changes the narrative. She said, and I quote, "He didn't come in with a real enormous football encyclopedia of those things. But the Browns have discovered, and people want to lose the second part of this whenever I talk about this. But this part is important. He also has an incredibly high football acumen, and he can quickly pick all this stuff up. See what I mean? This isn't about Shedeur being less intelligent or less capable. This is about different systems, different terminology, different ways of calling plays. Dillon Gabriel came from Oklahoma, and from what I've seen, he's been in more traditional pro-style systems that use similar terminology to what Kevin Stefanski runs in Cleveland. Shedeur, on the other hand, has been in Colorado's system, which is completely different. And here's the kicker. Mary Kay said that Shedeur has an incredibly high football acumen, and that he can quickly pick all this stuff up. That's not me being a fanboy. That's coming directly from someone who covers this team every single day and has sources inside the Browns organization. But wait, it gets even better. Mary Kay revealed that in the final 2 weeks of the process, the last week of OTAs and the week of minicamp, Shedeur showed massive improvement. She said, they saw how all of his studying really lent itself to a good performance on the practice field. It translated.
And he has an edge, I would say, in some ways, on Dillon in the post-snap stuff, just in terms of accuracy, touch on the ball, and those kinds of things. So those are some of the things.
You guys, this is where it gets really exciting for us Shedeur supporters. Mary Kay said that Shedeur has an edge, I would say, in some ways on Dillon in the post-snap stuff, just in terms of accuracy, touch on the ball, and those kinds of things. Did you hear that? Accuracy and touch on the ball. These are the things that separate good quarterbacks from great quarterbacks. You can learn terminology, you can memorize play calls, but you can't teach that natural accuracy and touch that Shedeur has. That's innate talent, and that's what's going to separate him in this competition. I mean, think about it. We've all seen Shedeur's tape from Colorado. The guy can drop dimes into tight windows. He's got that natural feel for the game, and his ball placement is just different. And now we're getting confirmation from Mary Kay Cabot that the Browns coaching staff is seeing the same thing. But here's what really gets me excited. Mary Kay said that if Shedeur shows up to training camp with even more knowledge of the system and more mastery over the terminology and all the things that you have to do pre-snap, then he's going to keep himself in the mix. And he's in it right now. Guys, he's in IT right now. After just a few weeks of working with this system, he's already in the mix for potentially playing time this season. That's incredible when you think about it. And let's talk about something else Mary Kay mentioned that I think is huge. She said that Shedeur didn't take himself out of it with the speeding. He's not out of it because of that. Now, I know some people made a big deal about that speeding incident, but Mary Kay is basically saying the Browns don't see it as a big deal. They're focused on what he's doing on the field and in the meeting rooms. Now, I want to address something that might concern some of you. Mary Kay did say that she doesn't think either Dillon or Shedeur will start the season as the starter. She thinks it's going to come down to Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco to start week 1. But here's the thing. That doesn't mean Shedeur won't play this season. She specifically said, I think they would like to see the rookies also at some point during the season. And with how quickly Shedeur is picking up the system, I think there's a real chance we see him get meaningful playing time, especially if he continues to show that improvement we saw in the final 2 weeks of the spring. What do you guys think about this? Are you as excited as I am about what Mary Kay revealed about Shedeur's natural accuracy and touch? Because from what I've seen, those are the things that can't be taught. And if he's already showing advantages over Dillon in those areas, that's huge for his development. Let me know in the comments what you think about this whole situation. I mean, I could be wrong about this, but but I think we're seeing exactly what we expected. Shedeur starting a little behind in terms of system knowledge, but his natural talent and football IQ allowing him to catch up quickly. And here's something else that gets me excited. Mary Kay mentioned that the Browns are planning to keep 4 quarterbacks on the roster. That means they're not just keeping Shedeur around to sit on the bench. They're keeping him because they see potential. They see someone who can contribute. From what I've seen of Shedeur's work ethic and his ability to process information quickly, I think he's going to continue to close that gap with Dillon throughout training camp and into the season. And once he gets fully comfortable with the terminology and the system, watch out, because that accuracy and touch that Mary Kay mentioned is going to be on full display. You know what I think is going to happen? I think Shedeur is going to have a breakout. Training camp. I think he's going to show up with that system knowledge locked down, and he's going to start making some throws that are going to make people take notice. That's just my prediction, but based on everything Mary Kay said about his learning curve and his natural abilities, I think we're in for something special. The other thing that excites me is that Mary Kay said the Browns coaches have been raving about what Shedeur's been doing in terms of helping other guys and his presence in the building. That tells me he's got the leadership qualities and the work ethic that you want in a franchise quarterback, that I'm someone who will call it how it is. And right now, I think Shedeur is in a great position. Yeah, he started behind Dillon in terms of system knowledge, but he's got advantages in other areas, and he's shown he can learn quickly. That's a fair argument, right? What do you guys think is going to happen in training camp? Do you think Shedeur is going to continue to close that gap with Dillon? Or do you think Dillon's going to maintain his advantage? Let me know in the comments because I'm genuinely curious about what you guys are thinking. From what I've seen from Shedeur throughout his career, the guy thrives when he's got something to prove. And right now, he's got everything to prove. He's got to show that he can master this system. He's got to show that his natural talent can translate to the NFL level. And he's got to show that he can compete with guys like Dillon Gabriel and Kenny Pickett. But here's the thing. Mary Kay basically confirmed that he's got the tools to do exactly that. The accuracy, the touch, the football IQ, the work ethic, it's all there. Now it's just about putting it all together and showing it on the field. And let's be real for a second. This is exactly the type of situation where Shedeur Sanders tends to excel. He's been doubted before, he's been in competition before, and he's always found a way to rise to the occasion. I think we're going to see that same thing happen in Cleveland. The fact that Mary Kay said he has an edge over Dillon in post-snap. Accuracy and touch. That's huge, guys. That's the stuff that wins games in the NFL. You can have all the system knowledge in the world, but if you can't put the ball where it needs to be when it matters, none of that matters to SO. Here's what I'm thinking. I think Shedeur's going to have a strong training camp. I think he's going to continue to improve his pre-snap reads and his system knowledge, and I think we're going to see him get playing time this season. Maybe not week 1, but at some point during the season, I think we're gonna see what Shedeur Sanders can do in an NFL game. What do you guys think about that? Are you as optimistic as I am about Shedeur's chances? Because from everything Mary Kay said, it sounds like the Browns are really high on his potential, even if he's still learning the system. That we need to see how this all plays out in training camp. But I'm feeling pretty good about where Shedeur stands right now. He's got the natural talent, he's got the work ethic, and he's got the football IQ to succeed in this league. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you excited about what Mary Kay revealed about Shedeur's accuracy and touch? Do you think he's going to be able to catch up to Dillon in terms of system knowledge? And what do you think his chances are of getting playing time this season? This quarterback competition is going to be one of the most interesting storylines to follow as we head into training camp. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our coverage of Shedeur Sanders and the Browns quarterback situation. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss what happens next. At the end of the day, Mary Kay Cabot just gave us the most detailed look at the Browns quarterback room we've gotten all season. And while there might be some concerns about Shedeur's system knowledge early on, the fact that he's already showing advantages in accuracy and touch, combined with his incredible football IQ and ability to learn quickly, has me more excited than ever about his potential. This is exactly the type of challenge that brings out the best in Shedeur Sanders, and I can't wait to see how he responds in training camp. And don't forget to smash that like button if you enjoyed this breakdown. Subscribe for more Browns and Shedeur Sanders content, and let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen in this quarterback competition. Until next time, keep supporting our guy Shedeur. This is just the beginning.